That's Dre's tutoring. Hey guys, welcome to today's video. We'll be going over the nucleus. Originally, I wanted to make this a longer video going over all of the organelles. However, I figured it would be best if I shed the spotlight on just the nucleus today, as well as really splitting up each organelle and having it have its own stardom for their own video. I started off with the nucleus, and I'm working on my way to the rough ER and so on and so forth, and I just felt like it was dragging. So instead, we're going to make separate videos and make this into a series. So without further ado, let's get right into it. So first, what I have is a little boxing match, ding, ding, ding. And this is really showing the difference between the animal cell and the plant cell. The one key thing that we want to take away from this is both of them have the nucleus, right? Dead in the center for each of them. But the key difference is that the animal cell has plasma membrane, while the plant cell has something called a cell wall, which is very rigid. So this way we could be able to tell the difference between animal cell and plant cell. Of course, there are other key differences, but just for the sake of this video, we just want to know that both animal and plant cells have nucleus, and that the animal cell has a plant membrane and the plant cell has the cell wall. So here's another textbook schematic. I'm making these guys rich, I swear. And our main point of reference is that dead in the center, the nucleus, that purple guy. Typically in a lot of textbooks, you'll see it, I guess they make the nucleus purple. I don't know why, but that's a good way to distinguish where it is or what it is. But also, it's usually right in the center, and what you'll find is this dark purple area where the nucleolus is, and we'll get into that later on. And you can see it's housed with a endoplasmic reticulum, and then a few other organelles like the mitochondria. You see microtubules, cytoskeleton, and the cytoplasm. Okay? So what exactly is the nucleus? If you look over to the first slide that I had, it says, "I'm the master." And it's like the command center of the cell. It contains most of the genes in eukaryotic cells. And here's another side note that I want to make real quick. Genes are located in other places like the mitochondria, but the nucleus has the most of the genes in the eukaryotic cell. So if you're asked during a test where a gene's located, you can say the nucleus and mitochondria. However, most of the genes are found in the nucleus. So if we go over to our image to the right, we're going to start with the nuclear pores. And it's these little holes. That's the thing that stands out to me the most. Maybe the second thing that stands out to me the most. What are these little holes that are there? Well, those are called the nuclear pores, and they regulate the entry and exit of most proteins, RNA, and macromolecules. So you'll have macromolecules, proteins, RNA entering and even exiting these holes, because sometimes the nucleus needs proteins or needs these molecules to be able to do whatever it has to do in the center, which we'll get to in a moment. Or when something has been made here, it needs to exit out. So that's what the nuclear pore is. It regulates what comes in and comes out of the nucleus. Next, we have the nuclear envelope, or also the inner and outer membrane, and this is what encloses the nucleus, okay? So it helps separate its contents from the cytoplasm. So in this image here, we see that, again, we have the nucleus, and then we have the endoplasmic reticulum, and as you continue out, you have the cytoplasm, or that cellular space that's just liquid, fluid, or water, and there's all these empty spaces. So that's what separates, as you can see, the plasma membrane, the inner, and then this one is the outer, and that separates what's inside of the nucleus from the cytoplasm. So if we continue, we can see, again, we have the nuclear pores, and then we have the outer membrane, we have an inner membrane enclosing, and then we have the nuclear lamina, this, light pink area. And what that's for is it's proteins, and it helps maintain the shape of the nucleus. We talked about proteins in previous videos where proteins are used to promote certain types of reactions, regulate reactions, as well as it's used for structure as well. So that's what keeps the shape of the nucleus so unique, because of the nuclear lamina, which pretty much is a structural protein that holds the nucleus together. All right. Next we have chromatin. What are chromatin? It's these little squigglies that you see here. And a lot of people get tripped up about this. Chromatin is a complex of protein and DNA that makes up chromosomes. So we typically see this. We're very familiar with this image. This is a chromosome. But what makes up the chromosome? Chromosomes are made up of chromatin. And this is the part where we have a histone protein. It's that little basketball thing. I see it as basketballs. That's my best way of remembering it, where you have these balls, right? And this is where you have a nucleosome, this area here. And the histone proteins, it kind of curls up, I would say. It would curl up the chromatin, making a nucleosome. Okay, so think of these little squigglies here that you see as the chromatin. Oops, it jumped over. As the chromatin, where you can see this part right here. So you have these curly bits that are right there, and those are the chromatin. Lastly, you have the nucleolus. The nucleolus is the center of the nucleus. So remember, I talked about how the nucleus is at the center of the cell. And in the center of the nucleus is the nucleolus, the densely packed. That's how, all that chromatin and everything is able to fit in there, because it's packed into histone protein. So you have like this tight packing, crumbled up, dead in the center. And this is where synthesis and processing of rRNA and ribosome assembly takes place. And then, of course, you have ribosomes. This is a cellular component that is responsible for protein synthesis. And it's these little yellow circles that you see all along. And we'll speak about it a bit more in a separate video, going into the endoplasmic reticulum, which is right here. So let's recap. Again, we have the textbook. We're getting them rich. We're in that purple. We have the nucleus. First thing I notice again are the nuclear pores, right? That allows certain proteins and molecules in and out of the cell. And then dead in the center, tightly packed, is the nucleolus. And then we have a double layer, I would call it. You have the outer. Why is that so big? And then the inner. And this separates the contents inside of the nucleus from the cytoplasm, right? And then the area that's inside of the nucleus has these squigglies called chromatin, which is just DNA and proteins. And you also have the nucleoplasm, which is kind of like the cytoplasm of the cell, but think of it as the cytoplasm for the nucleus. Okay, so that concludes it, guys. I hope that this gives you a better idea of the nucleus and all of its components and what they are responsible for. So if you were to have an empty image of the nucleus, you guys would be able to point out what structure it is. So I hope this helped, guys. Leave any comments if you guys have any comments, and I'll see you guys next video. Peace.